this is big things, doing big things, chasing big dreams. Yeah, it's all real, this life's all that it seems. All the chicks scream, all the dudes yell. This is just what I do and I do it well. With the flow fresher than the new shoe smell. Going through hell, well homie keep going. You know the saying, you can reap what you sow in. So I don't chase girls, I just chase dreams. Play the same game, but we ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Body 2016. Like a phone to die, putting me in charge. I'm a general from the front, I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap never. Going hard as ever, the results match the effort.
Hey everybody, you are going to learn a lot about the fitness industry on today's episode on the Shrimp Tank. If this is your first time tuning in, catch 165 episodes up on iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you catch your podcasts today, or of course at Shrimp Tank Boca over on Facebook Live Thursdays right around 4 p.m. weekly. And this is the Oz Digital Studio where we film this Shrimp Tank, and we do it in collaboration with the FAU Adams Center for Entrepreneurship. And it is wild out there at FAU right now. I could not get a parking spot. Students are back. And most importantly, like I said last week, the ticket folks are back, Kevin. How much money are they going to make this year on tickets? I mean, they are everywhere. There's like 10 ticket people out there. You know, and first week, come on. They can't give guys a break, girls a break. What's going on?
I didn't think they were going to be out there this first week, but we are back in class. Let's go. It is wild out there. Campus is alive again, alive and well. People are running around trying to find places to park, late to class. You know, it's just like it always was. So I'm excited to be back live and in person. Had some great classes earlier this week, and I'm looking forward to a fun semester.
What is the COVID protocol at FAU going on right now?
Mass expected.
Oh, yeah.
So expected was the terminology we went with in terms of the mask. Yeah, because as we know,
recommended.
We can't necessarily mandate in this state. So, you know, everyone, mass expected, everyone sort of does whatever they want. So, yeah. That's where we stand. We'll see how it goes. It's only week one.
So what's going on with the boot camp coming up, right? The end of September. And also Greg Sugar, I heard he posted on Facebook. He's teaching FAU right now. Correct? One of our past guests?
Yeah, he's got a couple good connections over here. So we managed to give him an opportunity. You know, he adopted the right textbook. You know, if you get my drift, so that helps. And,
he copied your textbook. Is that what we're saying?
He adopted
plagiarism a little bit.
No,
is that what you're saying?
Adopted. So he's going to use it for my class. You know, I got to drive those workbook sales. So yeah, I think he'll be great in terms of practical experience. The students really appreciate that. Somebody who's actually done it, had an exit, bought and sold multiple companies, and he's back in the tie business these days, so he's got a lot to share and bring, especially on the e-commerce and digital side, which so many students are interested in.
And I'm interested for what he does, because, of course, the tie business with COVID-19 is not the business to be in, and I'm really interested to see what he does. How has he transitioned? And I know he did that right when COVID-19 hit. He switched to, you know, making masks. He was one of the first, you know, people out there that took his whole entire operation and changed gears, and he was able to do that as a small business owner, where a lot of other business owners just watched and said, oh, we'll see what happens. Hopefully things get better, but he didn't. So it'll be very exciting to see how he transitions, and I believe he will, because all good business owners, they figure it out, right? He's got good people working for the brand up in Vermont, and he's a great digital marketer. So at the end of the day, you know, he'll come up with a solution. Maybe it's not ties, but it will be something, right? Maybe it's sneakers, maybe it's underwear.
You know,
we will see.
He's done phenomenal. His only problem right now is he can't find any seamstresses in the U.S. He'll hire as many as he can. What it's turned out is people with formal dress requirements still have that, very much so. So, you know, even lawyers and you know, corporate types on Zoom, they need their ties, and guess what? They like their ties to match with their mask. So use the same fabric, same logos, same colors, same designs. Tie and mask, sells them as a set, 2 sales, 1 customer, good day.
Don't tell my wife about this. All of a sudden, my kids are going to have the same mask with the T-shirts, with the shorts, and
yeah,
she'll go in there and spend $200 definitely on matching all that gear. Okay, well, this is your first time tuning in. This is the podcast where we get to interview the best and brightest entrepreneurs from down here in South Florida, find the do's and don'ts running a business. And again, we're excited to learn all about the fitness industry today with Christopher Pena. He is the founder and CEO of Body20. So, Christopher, tell us a little bit about Body20 for a moment.
Body20 is a fitness franchise. We're a technology-based training franchise. We leverage an FDA-approved device, medical device, that essentially mimics the same process your brain, your body goes through when you're telling your muscle to move. So your brain sends an action potential, it travels through your central nervous system and says, hey, muscle fiber, it's time to wake up, right?
Sure.
And the signal gets stronger and weaker as you kind of condition your muscle over time, right? That's where
Mine
muscle memory
gotten
comes
weaker when I hit my 30s, unfortunately. Like,
Mine too. Mine too.
I have to worry about eating McDonald's, Taco Bell. It just all worked out that I had a skinny waistline. Then 30s came around, and I don't know what happened. I got to wake these muscles up, I guess.
Well, as you know, the life of a business owner, right?
Sure is.
But yeah, we leverage the device to really make fitness accessible for people who typically can't train at a high level.
Okay, so perfect for folks like Kevin Cox, my co-host, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Totally our customer here.
He threw it out there on a platter, Kevin. No, Kevin, look at this guy. Guy's lost like 40 pounds in 4 weeks.
I'm always
looking fit.
I'm always looking to save some time, though. So this is a rare case, as my savvy host knows. Oftentimes in the shrimp tank, I just stroll in and start talking. I have no idea who the person is, but I looked up the company, did some reading, checked out into the technology because it just seems so intriguing. There's not too many things that are really unique, different, totally. Everybody sort of frames their fitness concept as new and unique, and it's like, okay, you had Orange Theory, then you had 9 Round, then it's like, okay, so we had the big gyms, and we had the personal training, then the oxymoron group-based personal training, right? So it's like, okay, I get it. It's all kind of the same stuff. This is really unique. So tell us a little bit more about how this actually works and the technology and what this concept is, because from my experience working with a lot of people in the fitness industry, it is unique. It's different.
Absolutely.
It's a lot different.
Well, one of the things that intrigued me the most about EMS training was, so I used to own gyms in Colorado. I bought into a failing gym and grew it to 3 locations.
Nice.
And it, the problem with fitness for me is, like you said, same thing, different color, right? Everybody's doing the exact same thing. They just want to own your life in that brand. Well, with EMS, I just saw, truly changing the way people worked out, right? It's not that most people don't want to be in shape. It's, specifically if you have a career, if you're doing really well in life, or you're busy, right? You're working real hard to provide a nice life for your family. You got a kid, you got a wife, and what do you do when it's time to go to the gym for 6 hours a week? You're just not going to do it, right? So EMS just seemed to solve that problem for me, right? Essentially, like I said before, the technology mimics what your brain already does. We're just taking your brain out of it. So I'm sending the exact same signal. I'm just sending it directly to the muscle. So when you go to do a curl with this suit on, there's nothing in your hand, but it feels like if you can curl 50 pounds, it feels like there's 50 pounds in your hand.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Can you dumb it down a little bit?
Sure.
So people like myself, of course, can understand it a bit. Like
Absolutely.
I go into a Body20.
I shook my head
know,
at the
you like
beginning
that one.
too, and I didn't really understand any of it. It was just like, yeah, that's what I always do with the scientists when I work with those faculty. I'm like, yeah, gotcha.
So explain this. I walk in the front doors of a Body20.
Yep.
Give me the next 30 minutes. What goes on?
So you walk into the front door. You're going to wear a base layer. Okay, it's a special blend of cotton and lycra.
So kind of like a wetsuit.
Like yoga pants, right? But top
Okay.
and bottom, right? So it's like tights. The fabric is meant to.
You're gonna look great in those.
Kevin, you want to be there for the first time I try the suit on?
Oh yeah.
He's getting excited over there. Have you ever seen anyone get this excited? Look at this.
I haven't.
Look at him
I haven't.
smiling.
I think he wants to take pictures too.
I know.
We'll bring it here to the next episode. Training on site.
Deal.
But no, we put you in a suit. It's pretty skin tight. The intention is that the electrode is as close to the muscle as possible. It also holds moisture, so it's wicking to the skin, not away from the skin. So moisture is for the conductivity, right? So the signal can get to the muscle through the fabric.
Okay.
Now, when you train, we're going to, as a first timer, we're going to bring you in. You're only going to train for 12 minutes. We're going to do 8 minutes on our strength settings and 4 minutes on our cardio settings, so you can get a flavor for what we do, right? Is this for you? Is this not for you? I'd say 1 out of 10 people just don't like the sensation. It's, it's that really deep contraction that you get like on the last 2 reps of working out. When you have a partner and they like push you through and you get that one last rep and it feels like somebody just reached in your muscle and twisted, right? That's what it feels like every time you do a contraction at Body20. So you put the suit on. We're gonna put a vest, shorts, and an armband on each arm. And
And how long does it take to even get the suit on?
Our trainers are trained and kind of timed down to a minute and a half. So that client should have 5 minutes of prep time, 20 minutes of working out, and 5 minutes of get undressed, take a breath, drink some water, and walk out the door. As you said, our core competency is time, right? We're saving people time. So everything we do is intentional to ensure that the experience is great, but also that we can get you in and out as fast as you want to go.
And then tell us a little bit about how the memberships work. Like, how often is someone in my shoes supposed to be attending each week? Is it once a week, twice a week, 4 times a week? Explain more of that process.
Yeah, so one of my biggest gripes with the fitness industry in general is that everybody is just like this one size fits all. Like, just show up and you do these 45 minutes of whatever it is and you're going to get in shape. That's just not how the human body works, right? Everybody's got a different goal, a different need, and their body reacts a different way. So we actually leverage 2 pieces of technology. The EMS is what everybody talks about because it's cool, it's different, right? But we also leverage is bioimpedance analysis. It's the gold standard for body composition. So on one hand, we can train you. On the other hand, we can see exactly what's happening in your body. We teach all of our trainers one core fact, which is at Body20, if we believe that if we can't see what's happening on the inside of your body, how can we possibly change the outside for the better, right? We're actually looking at health. So you get a result sheet. You stand on it's sort of like a scale. You hold, it's called in-body. You got to hold your arms out and hold 2 electrodes. It sends a signal from the right hand to the left foot, left hand to the right foot. And it's going to measure everything based on how fast that signal travels. So we can measure bone density, mineral mass. I can tell if you're hydrated, dehydrated. I can tell what your visceral fat versus your so the fat around your organs versus, the fat that's extracellular, right? So we start there. We take that. We do an analysis with you. We sit down and we say, look, based on your goal, based on what your body's telling us, you need to come either 4, 6, or 8 times per month to us.
Okay. I think I'm on the 8 side, right, Kevin?
Absolutely.
I knew that's what you were thinking. So the actual business model, like how many trainers are there in each location approximately, right? I know each location could be different sizes.
Sure.
And explain some of that element of the business.
So we really have 2 models. We have kind of an original model that was there, and then we did a rebrand when we figured out the business model. We figured out what the constraints were in the business model, and we redid everything. So in the original model, you're going to have 2 time slots per half hour and 2 trainers on every shift. On the new model, we let our franchisees start with 2, right, to conserve cost. But then as soon as they hit certain membership milestones, they're hiring on more, and they've essentially been able to do 4 time slots per half hour. So they have 4 trainers on staff each shift.
And now am I allowed to pick the trainer I want? Because, of course, I go in, I really like that one person, and then the other person, not so much.
So at Body20, we avoid that. One of the reasons we avoid that is there's brands that literally build their whole business on stealing head coaches from other brands, right? And they take 200 members with them because that's who owns the relationship. Yeah. At Body20, really our trainers, they're operating a device that does 99% of the work for them. It's not like a trainer at LA Fitness that has to know exact form and has to, be able to correct that form and make sure you're doing everything right. We provide the workouts, we provide everything. So that person is more of a customer experience guide. So we focus a lot on what we call experiential coaching techniques because the machine's doing most of the work. So when you come in, you're not picking your trainer, you're not doing any of that stuff. If you want to work with Mario in Wilton Manors and he's on shift, you can certainly ask for it. And 9 times out of 10, we're going to accommodate you. But you're not scheduling to come in with that person every time you come in.
Gotcha.
Great. So let's talk about the current state of the business, right? The mothership, the franchising model. How many units do you have? Where are they? Where are you looking to grow? What is the kind of state-of-the-art status?
Yeah, so post-COVID, we now have 14 units open.
Nice. Congrats.
We have a little over 93 units awarded. So just different phases of development. Some people buy more than one license, and it takes them 2 or 3 years to get them all open. We are heavily growing, I should say, in Florida and Texas. It just happened to be the states that reopened quicker. There's more business happening there. So Oh, I'm so sorry, guys.
That's all right.
It's time for the
reminding me to
podcast.
drink
It's
water.
4 p.m. See, we started a little early. That's why
Right.
that alarm's there.
But yeah, so those are the two states that made the most sense for us to grow aggressively in.
Nice.
So what's been a better state, Florida or Texas? Let's hear it.
Oh man, Florida! I didn't think it was going to hurt so much to leave when I moved to Texas. I was like excited, then I got there and I was like, oh man, I miss it.
But in general, like the actual franchises that have opened in each location, what are you finding an easier experience?
So the newer studios opening, the studios in Texas are opening now. They're in pre-sale.
Okay.
They're having significantly higher success than we had in Florida to begin with. And I think the reason was just on it. So we've improved the model. We do a postmortem after every opening. We figure out what can we do better, how do we make it better. But I think they're both honestly pretty equal markets. There's certainly more of a fitness market in Texas than there is in Florida, just because it's bigger and there's like for instance, Dallas is like the second best fitness market in the country.
Yeah. What about age demographic? Who's going after this? Is it your business owners 30 to 50 or just like that range because they're getting a little bit lazier and time is more sensitive to that group versus like the 20-year-olds? Like kind of what are you seeing?
So our core demographic is going to be a 45-year-old professional, typically well educated. Most of the time they have more than a bachelor's degree. They are, money is not their issue. Time is their issue. So they value their time over their paycheck, right?
Of course.
So
So
everybody
this is
gets
easy.
that
Just post up right next to a Starbucks. Right? Wouldn't that be the best location?
Well.
That is that
Have
demographic.
you seen how many of these students are walking around carrying Starbucks? I don't know.
I know
if that's
things
the
have
perfect
shifted.
one.
I agree.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was like you can't afford Starbucks. You go to Dunkin', of course, when you're in your 20s. Nowadays, like whatever, $7 coffees, $4 coffees, I'm in. Right in their 20s. Where are they getting this money, Kevin? You know where?
I have
I
no
don't-
idea, but we got a Starbucks on campus, and there's always a line.
Always. It's crazy. Well, that's why. There you go. That's why you need to put a Body20 next to a Starbucks, of course.
Yeah.
Worth every penny.
We find the best co-tenancy for us is going to be high-end kind of salons, spas, other fitness concepts, because believe it or not, we're not competitive in nature with them. We actually are very complementary. So like, for instance, like an Orange Theory, a Cycle Bar, any of these brands that are group fitness, they're cardio based, right?
Yeah.
All of them do mostly cardio. We are primarily focused on strength. That's our core competency. So like the top 20% of their customer base, segment wise, is our customer. So we can go in and we can, I'll be in an Orange Theory in a Cycle Bar, and after their class, we'll be giving arm demos to their members, and we'll let them come do the same with us because, we don't offer what they offer.
Is there anyone else doing this in the United States? Is there any competition at all?
It's a very fragmented industry in the United States. So there's like people who are typically they were either in Europe or South America where this is much more developed, and they brought advice with them. They're honestly most industries start this way where there's a lot of kind of mom and pops and just nobody's really taken the time to roll it up and create a true unified front and build a brand. And so when we saw that, that's where we saw huge potential.
So can a person in my shoes just go out and buy one of these suits? Can I go on Amazon? Can I, buy on Alibaba? Or no?
And then just wear it 24/7
Right under the-
until you're
Trained. So the FDA mandates that there's a personal training certification with that trainer, the person that they're selling it to, and then they have to go through a separate course to train with EMS. Our specific device, we do have an exclusive franchise partnership, or we're the exclusive franchise partner of Xbody.
Gotcha.
But there's other manufacturers, in our opinion, they're lesser quality, and so sure, I think you could probably find a way to go to Europe and buy one and come back.
What about the actual suit? I mean, one issue I would think is like sanitation. Like if I'm getting in the same suit that 4 other people have been in,
Sure.
like how does that work in general?
So your suit, that your base layer is yours. You take it home, you wash it, it's yours.
There's a base layer. Gotcha.
Yeah,
'Cause I don't want to wear anything that Kevin's
No,
wearing.
no,
This is
exactly.
important. There we go.
it would be tight.
Oh!
If you could fit into what I'm wearing, it would be really tight. So that might actually work,
Good point. You got me on that one.
As for the vest, the shorts, all that good stuff, that's all going to be sanitized in an ozonator right after the use. So it never touches your skin, and we sanitize it with an ozonator immediately after.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break to hear from one of our sponsors over here, and then we're going to jump to our Hot or Not segment of the show.
Step into our state-of-the-art innovation lab and create your digital future. Oz uses cutting-edge technology and 22 years of industry knowledge to enhance customer experience through digital innovation in a variety of expertise. Oz is a leading global consulting company whose services and solutions are trusted by startup, midsize, and even Fortune 500 companies. Get to know more about Oz's Salus, a mobile solution bringing us back to max capacity, and their latest solution, Rainmaker, saving insurance companies years of work. To learn more about Oz and their exciting technologies, visit followoz.com. That's FOLLOWOZ.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank. As a reminder, you catch all these episodes up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com. You get to see a photo of all these different guests we've had on the show, as well as their bios. And, of course, reach out to them on LinkedIn, Instagram. They're always telling us that, they will take any emails, calls from anyone who is in our audience, of course. So, Chris, on this segment of the show, it's called Hot or Not. I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to explain why you think it is hot right now in business or not in business. Our, sponsor, we're just talking about, app development and technology. So is it hot or not to build an app for your franchise right now? Apps are very expensive and hard to maintain, and everyone wants one, but then they go down that road and we're like, woo, maybe not. So is it hot or not? And I have no idea if you guys have an app already. So, app development for Body20.
Yeah, I think it's a big miss if you don't have one in fitness.
Okay.
Your customer wants to be able to book from their phone and come in whenever they want. They don't want to have to go onto some website or call you or any of that stuff.
So do you guys have an app for Body20?
We do.
And then is it, did you guys self-design it, or you guys just took one off the shelf? Because a lot of fitness ones are right off the shelf, right? This isn't, the first time, a fitness place wants a style app, and most of the time you're just customizing some of the features within the app.
So we took a templated one from a CRM. However, we picked a CRM that allowed it had a very open back end.
Yeah.
So my app is pulling in data from our in-body machine, the scale. It's pulling in data from our actual CRM. It's pulling in data from our website. So it's a templated app, and then we actually worked out a deal where we were able to really customize the app.
That's very smart, because often people want to go out and customize their own app, and all of a sudden it's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions, and then to maintain it with all the upgrades with Facebook, Apple, Android devices, iOS, it's just a mess, with all these different cell phones, of course.
I agree.
All right, so I don't know.
You're stunned. You're Mr. Hot or Not over there, and Mr. Fitness. Come on, Kevin.
Hot or not? Boy, I don't know. I'm at a loss today. What's the hottest thing? Besides the technology you guys employ? What do you think the hottest trend in fitness is? Is there another technology on the horizon? Is there something else you've been thinking about?
So wearables have been the hottest trend for the past few years in fitness. The Apple, like the heart rate monitors, the watches, being able to connect those to a screen. In 2019, IRSA, it's kind of the last benchmark report they gave since and then COVID happened, so they didn't do a benchmark for 2020, and 2021's not done yet. But in 2019, the hottest industry trend was fitness technology. It was another big thing we saw that we looked at and said, their version of technology is connecting dots and putting it on a screen. That's not technological advancement to me, and we felt like what we were offering really did have that.
Yeah.
I don't stop getting ads for all that stuff. I agree.
Yeah, I was working on some project a couple years ago and was really looking into kind of the data, and most of those things, the outcomes are pretty disappointing, right?
Yeah.
What you see in the data is that, if you get a new device, you feel a little bit competitive. Maybe some of the more competitive devices where there's like a scoreboard or whatever, you might use it for a little bit, really try to increase those steps or do this or do that. But it doesn't work for like long-term gains in health and fitness and weight loss at all. What typically happens to users is that they get that little benefit right at the beginning, got something new, got to perform, And then they stop doing it, but they still have the monitor. And then they start gaining weight, and it just keeps telling them they're getting fatter. And then they're like, I don't really need this device. This thing stinks.
I have a mirror for that. Yes. Let's talk a little bit about marketing for a second, right? It's one thing to have this great technology and stores opening up, but tech and marketing, eventually kind of come together at some point. So what is the hottest way you have marketed this brand to get customers to walk through the front doors? And what has been, of course, the coldest thing that you've tried and it just complete failure?
So I would say the hottest thing we did is ensuring that up front, my partner, Greg Breitbart, and our CEO, his last position was a CMO of North American Power Company. Him and his father started that company, exited 6 years after. They went from like 0 to 400 million in 6 years, right? He ran a $25 million a year marketing budget as CMO. And when he first came on board, we spent probably about $250,000 on consumer research to understand first, massive surveys to understand who even has an interest, and then focus groups to make sure we knew what they needed to see, hear, feel, and think in order to do this. And then we branded the whole brand, the logo, everything to that research. And we also built the interior kind of retail model to that research and that brand. So I think first and foremost, we built it for the customer based on what they wanted. One of the crazy things was most people said, I can tell you're technology based and I don't care. How about you tell me what you're going to do for me?
Right? Yeah, that's really interesting. That's one of the things we really focus on in our National Science Foundation's iCore, because a lot of times we'll have innovations and new technologies that are spinning out of laboratories at the university, where unfortunately, I like to say they're sort of doing entrepreneurship backwards, right? They built a thing in a lab, and they bring it to old Dr. Cox and say, hey, turn this into a business. And it's like, you built this without talking to customers? And oftentimes my first question is, who's it for? Who is the customer? And they don't have an answer. Let alone do they not know how to talk to the customer or how to... So in that process, which really anyone can apply for when we're running it, is we make them do customer interviews one-on-one. And boy, sometimes they are disappointing. Yep. I've got a good question now. I'm bouncing back.
You're back?
Yeah.
Nice.
So, corporate-owned locations, hot or not? Are you still having any of those? Or are you sort of out of that business, focusing on the franchising model?
So we're extremely hot on corporate units. We actually have one that just started pre-sale in Houston at the Galleria in Houston.
Nice.
We're going to roll out 5 in Houston. I took some really bad advice from somebody I should have taken the advice from when I first started franchising. We opened our first location in Wilton Manors, Florida. It was kicking butt. And basically took some advice from somebody who I thought knew what they were talking about in franchising. He said, you shouldn't have corporate locations so you can focus on your franchisees. Well, that's the wrong thing to do because then you can't innovate either, right? So you have to now, we luckily have an amazing franchisee across the street from our corporate office in the Plaza Real area. And we've been able to, through incentives and things, innovate in his studio. But it's time for us to own some corporate studios.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention potential agency conflicts, right? If you, let's say, don't own any, what's your incentive to kind of do the thing that's best, absolutely best for franchisees versus this might actually be a little better for franchisor if we, shave down some of these, regional marketing spending, right? Or whatever. There's something to be said for they own several of these or a lot of these or whatever it is too. Again, with your great point about innovating, right? You get your boots on the ground, you see things. And I imagine you can test out other ideas more easily if you're open to getting ideas from other franchisees. Like in some cases, they may have a great idea. Maybe you want to test it instead of just giving them free reign to kind of do whatever. But if you have those corporate-owned stores, you can say, let's test this. That's intriguing. And maybe sometimes let's not test that. That seems,
Absolutely.
But it gives you that kind of opportunity, which I think is great.
Yeah, we actually, core value number 5 for us is order and innovation. We are super big believers that the best ideas always come from franchisees. They're on the ground every day. You know what I mean? I'm looking at it from a very macro level, but they're in the business every day. So they're going to look at it and they're going to say, hey, this worked in Boca Raton. It does not work in New Jersey. You got to change something. And they're going to come up with that idea.
It's true.
We're going to help them. We're going to work through the problem with them and try to solve it. But as long as they come through the process and they don't just deviate and do it on their own, we're always open to it.
And it is a struggle in different areas, right? I know I came from New York, down to Florida 4 years ago, and it's different. It's different the way you hire people. It's different, certain expectations, how quickly people show up, tardiness, all that jazz.
South Florida.
It is different, but you adapt. There's pros and cons to both, New York and Florida, of course. So I got a good question for you.
Sure.
You talked about mentors, getting good advice, bad advice. So that's consistently an issue with a lot of entrepreneurs where we hear a lot and we see someone's resume, immediately jump like, they must know what they're doing. I'm going to take their advice, right? But not always the case. So I always take a little bit from everyone and make it my own. So I guess what is the hottest way for you to get advice yourself when, trying to learn, right? You're a young entrepreneur, you're doing, you did one business before and you learned a lot, right? And now you're doing franchising. It's totally new, in your world and you're young. So like, how do you get advice? What's the hottest way? And what's the worst advice, the coldest, let's say? Go both ways.
Sure. So I think, one of the kind of things that I've done my whole life is I'm a big believer in finding somebody who has what you want and doing what they do. Typically, it's going to be not one person, as you said, because there's so many different various factors that you have to factor in. So I like to go in, talk to people, hear their stories, understand what's happening, what were their biggest pitfalls, what were their biggest advantages, right? I think the worst thing you can do is go find one person, do exactly what they say, and that's it, right? And never assume that there could be another path, right?
Yeah, sure. So where are you getting the advice from, though? Like, are you getting it from podcasts, reading books?
So
is it literally reaching out and doing one-on-one calls? Like, what is?
So it's
your
all
preference?
of the above. I've done everything from watch podcasts from guys who I idolize in the industry, who I think are doing amazing things. I've reached out to people who are connected to those people so they can maybe make an introduction. I've reached out on LinkedIn with like a 2-page email about why I would just love 10 minutes on the phone with you. Can I buy you coffee? So you just got to do what you have to get in front of them.
Gotcha. That's some great advice right there. And that's so valuable. So often a lot of people try to figure things out on their own. And if they just ask for help, right? I tell this to everybody I meet. It's like, go right on LinkedIn and be genuine. Just be like, hey, Chris, I heard you on the Shrimp Tank and you talked about X, Y, or Z and love to pick your brain for 10 minutes about, this topic X, Y, or Z. And if you got that genuine message, you'd be like, sure, let's set up a time to meet for 15 minutes. You pay it forward from all the people that did the same thing to you, right? And it works.
Exactly.
But no one does it. I get 0 emails pretty much on LinkedIn. It's always spam and sales. Like, hey, can you buy this? Can you buy that? It's like, try just saying hello first, right?
I was just going to say, how about you start with what I want when you want to sell me something? Get the conversation started, right?
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break to hear from one of our sponsors. When we get back, we're going to jump to our future focus segment.
Are you having a hard time finding good people? The key to successfully finding top quality candidates is to expand your candidate pool. That's exactly what a virtual hiring event powered by Premier Virtual will do for you. Over 2,500 virtual hiring events later, more than 25,000 companies have connected with over 250,000 job seekers. These events are much more than a resume. Virtual hiring events give your recruiters the ability to meet and pre-screen candidates and decide if they're a good fit. The efficiency and effectiveness of virtual hiring events has reduced time to hire from an average of 30 days to just over 7 days. Premier Virtual has received the top rating for ease of use and customer support on software review sites like G2 and Capterra. We've also been selected a top 100 company to work for in Florida by Florida Trend magazine. Meet our veteran-owned Delray Beach-based company by visiting premiervirtual.com and schedule a free demo to see how you could host your first virtual hiring event within 24 hours. premiervirtual.com. It's time to take your hiring virtual.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank. So, Chris, on this segment of the show, it is called Future Focus because after 100-plus episodes, we realized every business owner would run into the same issue, hiring, firing, right, and how to get good people to stay with you. So, what is your trick to hiring? What do you do? Do you go on Indeed, just post a resume? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook these days doing it? How do you hire people, and how do you keep them with your organization?
So we built out a kind of hiring back end for our franchisees, and we use it at corporate too. essentially it has a hiring process. So it starts with sending out, pre-screen questions. It automatically populates a score to that. So I'm not talking to anybody that has less than a 70, right, out of 100.
Let's start with two sides, though. There's the executives that are working in your headquarters,
Yes.
and then people working at the local branch. So let's focus on the executive side to start.
I'm a big believer in using a recruiter. If it's anybody from like a management perspective,
Yes.
I'm going after the best person I can find, usually a headhunter because the best guys aren't looking for work, right? If it's business coach or something like that, I'm networking for the best people. I think there's passive and active recruiting. We teach it all the time. Active recruiting is I'm going out and finding you at this brand at this event, and I'm saying you're awesome. Let me create a relationship, and 3 months later, when I need somebody, I have somebody to call.
And how many people work at headquarters on that side?
We have 11 right now.
Okay, and then
excluding management.
What do you do different than anyone else to keep them with your organization? Like, tell us some of the secrets.
So we are huge believers in making everybody share in the kind of the big goal, right?
Yes.
So we have equity incentives, we have profit sharing, we have.
Oh, nice.
We're really big believers that if you own a piece, you'll stay, and you're going to work 10 times harder.
That's big because often we do find after doing a lot of interviews down here in South Florida, there's a lot of people with organizations of that size skip over all that, right? They say, one day it will come, I'll just pay $2 more an hour. And people want benefits. They want health care, especially with the rising costs with the Affordable Care Act. It's gone through the roof in many states. And then after that, people want to save for retirement, have a nice 401k plan with a match, and that obviously handcuffs them to your organization because they want to give that up, that easily. And then also those extra perks, that are part of benefit programs. And I have seen, that trend where people skip over it, and just say, it's not a big deal. I go, well, it kind of is. If you want the best, and people hanging around with you, eventually you have to adopt that into your organization and have a real handbook for your employees should something go wrong, right? Absolutely.
So let's talk about the employees at the franchisees, right? The trainers, because I work with a lot of students. Students are always looking to make extra money. What's the ideal kind of background and skill set? And basically, based on what you described earlier, would it necessarily be a typical training background? Like, for instance, right, would you rather have somebody who knows about fitness, is educated, but they're studying hospitality management, right? And they've worked in hospitality, or somebody who also knows the same about fitness, but they're studying in exercise science.
So traditionally, people who've already been personal trainers and have experience there are like my worst coaches.
Really?
Yeah, it's very counterintuitive with what we do. If you were to say, somebody comes to you and says, I want to build my glutes, you're going to say, okay, let's do squats, right? A traditional trainer, it's like the most effective compound exercise for building glutes. So we're going to do squats. With EMS training, the most effective exercise is for you to sit on a rounded hard surface because it's going to push the muscles stretched, right? It's going to contract against the stretch muscle, so it's maximum tension on the muscle. The electrode is pressed in to your glute because it's sitting on a rounded chair and your fat has separated because now you're sitting, right? And it's stretched out. So there's maximum conduction, maximum contact, and all that good stuff. So it's very hard for personal trainers to get past what they've been taught their whole life, right? So you hit it right on the head, the first part, though. We are looking for customer service-based, really high service level people who have a passion for fitness. They work out typically and they go to group classes, they do all this stuff. They've not been a trainer yet.
And how many hours do they have to put in? Like, could a student do it and then do it for 15 hours a week, for example?
So we always have part-time trainers. It's
Okay.
just nature of the business. But we attempt to have at least our core staff be full-time.
Interesting. Cool. What about virtual hiring, right? Our sponsor, created a really neat product in the last 12 months. You've created a really neat product in the last 12 months. Not 12 months, a couple of years. But, in general, it sounds like that would be an interesting match, right? This virtual career fairs where people who really are excited about your technology just jump right into a virtual room, and you want to interview them, boom, right there on the spot, you get to interview them. Have you tried anything like that yet?
So we use Zoom for the first interview.
Okay.
But no, I mean, that's an incredible idea. I think it's being able to get, I'm assuming if it's a virtual career fair, it's, multiple people coming through.
Yes.
The resumes just don't do anything for you anymore.
No, they don't.
You can make anybody sound amazing on a resume. In like the first 2 minutes, you're going to know whether or not they can communicate, whether or not they're,
Sure.
on time. So I think that sounds like a great idea.
And who has time to swift through all these resumes
gosh,
today?
man.
Like
It's so
back in the
tough.
day, you'd read a lot, but today, a TikTok and social media has done to us is like our attention span is like 3 seconds, 7 seconds, like these days, and reading a long resume, it just doesn't work anymore.
No,
Kevin, do you read resumes anymore on your end? Like,
So I've been doing interviews this week. As you know, we're looking for a new coordinator for the Adams Center for Entrepreneurship. We've got some phenomenal candidates, but for a position like that, all the resumes look so similar. And I imagine that's the case for many positions, right? Like myself as kind of an academic researcher, my resume is fairly unique, right? Like researchers study different things. They publish in different journals. It's real long. It's called a CV, not a resume, but, kind of more of a middle or even lower or mid to higher mid management. I mean, an organization, a coordinator in this case, they all look the same. And as you said, they all look pretty good. But luckily, we've got things like Premier Virtual where you can have a dedicated room. And instead of setting up a bunch of, Zoom calls one at a time to wean people out, you can just have them pop right in one after another. So, Premier Virtual is a great resource.
and the other thing is, so often everyone just throwing resumes and see what sticks against the wall. So people are applying, but they really have no idea what Body20 is about. They didn't read it, right? So it goes the other way too, right?
Yes.
They're just throwing 500 resumes out there, and then everyone's spinning their wheels.
Indeed.
Yes.
That's the world of Indeed, right?
Yes, it sure is. I've been there.
No, I mean, that's the hardest part. Like you said, it's sifting everybody out who has zero qualification for the resume,
Joel, what's the worst thing you've done when it comes to hiring? Like now you've learned, not going down that road again. What is it?
I think the worst thing we've ever done is just focus on one job board. We did Indeed for the first time, or for when we first opened up.
Yeah.
And that was the only thing we kind of told franchisees to do, was just post things on Indeed and sponsor them. And it's just, you're going to get 2,000 resumes. None of them are going to fit the criteria except for like 2. You're probably not ever going to get to them because it takes too long and they've already found another job.
And it's expensive.
It
The
is
old model was
expensive,
like
yeah.
post something for $100. Now it's just like a click model, and someone just clicking there a million times. You're like, how did I just spend $1,000 in a month?
Exactly.
And sometimes in my world, I got like 3 resumes back. Or just the qualifications in the financial service business. You need all these qualifications. They didn't have any of them, right? And I'm sitting there like, why did I just spend $1,000 on these 3 horrible resumes? Right, so it is frustrating at times for all businesses, absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, hear from one of our sponsors, then we're going to get to our funnest part of the show called Plead the Fifth.
Are you ready to make your indelible impression? DeRay & Company is an award-winning, full-service public relations and marketing agency with offices in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Aspen, Colorado. With practice areas in business, real estate, cannabis, nonprofit, legal, and lifestyle, DeRay & Company is fully equipped to help clients reach their goals with strategies that are on point. Whether it's public relations, social media, digital marketing, content development, or other services, DeRay & Company delivers results for business owners that address their business goals and reach their targeted audience. To learn more about DeRay & Company and our services, visit DeRayandCompany.com. DeRayandCompany.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank. So, Chris, on this segment of the show, it is called Plead the Fifth. So you could only plead the fifth one time, and you plead the fifth twice, then Kevin over there, we always make a bet with every guest, gets free Body20 sessions for the next 12 months. Deal or no deal? Deal?
Wow, Steve.
Deal or no deal?
I can't make that deal. I don't have any units around you.
So you're pleading the fifth already. We got units around here. Come on.
I don't have any units that are mine around you.
Well, you're going to have to tell.
That for a franchisee.
Ah, sure you can. Come on. Okay. So let's see. We'll start with a softball, question. What's the worst experience, a customer's had and put a complaint up on Google about Body20?
We had a trainer one time who showed some inappropriate pictures of himself to a client, and
that will do it.
She made it very public that happened, and we made it right. We called her. We worked through it, but yeah, it was an
you can
interesting
control
moment in my life
because it's one-on-one in a room, so you can't control that.
Yeah, exactly.
And now, did you have a PR company to help you get out of that issue?
So we did at the time. We hired our attorney hired a PR company for us.
Do you still have a PR company today, or you
No, we
guys-
don't. No, so we one-off use them.
Sure, absolutely. Interesting. Yeah, that could be an issue when one person goes off and does something silly like that. Of course.
So
So this workout's short, but it sounds pretty brutal. You know, you're the founder. You're the guy right at the top. How often are you getting in a Body20 workout these days?
not as often as
good
I would
question.
like. No, I had when we first opened, obviously I worked out a lot. Then as we started to franchise, there was so much to learn, so much time that I made the excuse that everybody else makes, which is I have no time.
Well, you need Body 10. Come on.
Listen, man, I know, it's embarrassing.
Body 10, I like that.
But yeah, I mean, I would say right before we had our last kid, I was working out extremely consistently, and I was doing Body20 twice a week. I also I love lifting weights still. It's kind of a it's a social aspect for me. So
Sure.
I was still lifting weights twice a week, and then doing Body20 twice a week. And then we had our son. He's now 5 months old, and
right.
as you guys know, there's there's not a lot of time to work out when you got a newborn.
Fair enough.
Okay, we never talked about your wife at all during this episode. But, so
I'm gonna-
Kenzie is her name, and she's in the photo that everyone saw today that we posted about the shrimp tank. Now she started the company with you, right?
Yep.
So
She's
tell
the
us a
reason.
little bit about that element of how it started with her, and go into details, and then I'm going to make you plead the fifth. Okay?
Okay, sounds good. So, when we first moved to Florida, she was teaching in Colorado. She's a teacher, elementary school teacher. And when she got here, it was very different, like very different. And she started teaching at Hollandale.
Okay.
And it was the only place she could get a job in the middle of the semester. And she just really became disenchanted with being a teacher. She loved fitness. She was training for the Florida State show, actually, at the time. And I just kind of looked at her one day, and you could tell it was just wearing on her. She just didn't want to do this anymore. And I said, look, you've supported me through like 3 different ventures. You've just always been right there. You've never complained. Sometimes we're doing great. Sometimes we're not, as you know, as a business owner.
Some complaints.
Yeah. No, actually, she was really great. And so I just said, it's time we do something for you.
Okay.
And so she wanted to be in fitness. She was very passionate about fitness. And we looked at franchise concepts. She didn't have business experience. We're looking at that, and I just saw the same problem with everything. And one day somebody told us about EMS. Actually lost a bet, so I had to get on a video conference with this guy from South Africa at like midnight my time, 5 a.m. his time. He spent like 2 hours giving me the science of EMS, and the rest is kind of history. We flew him out. Kenzie tried the workout. Funny story, I never worked out. I never tried EMS until the day we opened our studio. They didn't have a size suit that was big enough for me. They only brought one for her.
Wow.
So,
that's a funny story.
but when I saw her kind of 12 minutes into this workout, who I know trained 4 hours a day,
Yeah.
right, for the show, laying on the ground, just exhausted, just this workout just kicked her butt. I was just like, wow, I know what you can do, so I know that works.
So she was there during the early days of operating everything, right?
So get this, she's gonna kill me for saying this. She actually was our manager at the first studio.
Okay.
And the one thing she was afraid to do was sell, and so I intentionally held it back till like probably 2 weeks before we opened our doors. And I was like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to teach you how to sell today.
Yeah.
And she was like, you're going to do what?
I mean, selling is part of everyday life, right? Like everywhere you go, you got to sell yourself at some point.
I
right?
agree. No, she actually became like, I say it all the time. The thing is, at Body20, it's all about belief, right?
Yeah.
That's how you sell it. I'm a big believer that if I believe that it's better for you, then you believe that it's not, you're going to buy it,
Sure.
And so she became such a believer when she started seeing these transformations in clients, not just fitness wise, right? But like we truly affect, like back pain goes away. We have a gentleman in Aventura named David Koss, who he was a pro tennis player, but like he got to a point where he had to like move his whole body to be able to turn because his back was just so messed up. And after like 6 weeks of Body20, he was playing tennis again.
Nice. That's an awesome story.
So she became an amazing salesperson because just nobody could convince her that it wasn't good for them.
Okay, here's the plead the fifth question. What's the biggest pet peeve of working with your wife when you were doing that in the early days?
I learned very easily how to get past this, but you can't tell her what to do. that was the hard one. She would there was no separation of church and state.
Which is hard because you're running a business and you want to be like, this is not how it's done. Do it like this.
Yeah.
And you feel like uncomfortable
go
telling
home.
your wife because you're not at home, it's going to be a rough night.
That I was going to say, then you go home and you're like, I'm like checked out. I'm done with work. I'm home. Everything's good. And she's still mad. I'm like, oh crap, I forgot. We had, yeah, I said
Did
that
not
to you
plead
today.
the fifth on that one, Kevin. I thought I was going to get him.
That's all right. I'll line one up here. So we know that some fitness studios, fitness concepts can be a little bit dangerous, right?
Sure.
CrossFit, oftentimes associated with knees and shoulders, sometimes hips, right? Once you get to be about our age, like a
Sure.
CrossFit's not really, the students, yeah, sure, do that 3 times a week. Your
Yeah.
shoulders are nice and loose and great.
Exactly.
Yeah, no problems, but I'll pass. So first, are there any things to be cautious about in terms of Body20? And if so, what are kind of the most common, I won't say injuries, but irritations or
Sure.
issues?
So we have a list of things that you just, they're contraindications. You just can't train with us if you have them. Anything that affects the central nervous system, like epilepsy, Tourette's. If there's a pacemaker, we're not going to let you train. There's no science or studies to say that it's going to hurt you, but I'm not going to be the brand who checks, right?
Absolutely.
Same thing with pregnancy. If you're pregnant, you're not training with me until until you deliver. And then an acute muscle tear. So if you have a tear in your muscle, I will tear it worse, right? I'm pulling both sides. I'm contracting your muscle at a really, 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 really high rate. The worst thing that can happen with EMS training, if done unsafely, is called rhabdomyolysis. It's something that happens, as a matter of fact, the leading cause of it in the United States is cycling, right? So it's just people overwork their body, and they overwork the muscle. And what happens is the muscle actually starts to die, and the fibers of the muscle get into the bloodstream, it goes into your kidneys, and it causes renal failure. Super extreme cases will cause renal failure. In most cases, you're really, really sore. You're really tired because your body's trying to recoup. But I mean, I think for us, we're so focused on safety because, if you go to CrossFit, by the way, CrossFit's mascot is rhabdo. It's for rhabdomyolysis. If you get rhabdomyolysis in CrossFit, it's like a badge of honor because you worked yourself so hard that you got sick, And so those guys are a little crazy, but that's their mascot. At Body20, I pushed a button and you got sick, is what you think, right? So for that reason, we are extremely safe. We put governors on our machines. You can't, like our trainer cannot hurt you because of everything we put into the machine and fail safes.
All right. I'm sold.
Okay, what about brand ambassadors gone wrong, right? I could sense that you guys at some point did a brand ambassador, an influencer, and things did not work out. Tell us what didn't work out and who that person was.
I would say I've had some local people who are
Tell us
not
more.
necessarily like, I would say they're not maybe like a major influencer like on social media or something, but they're people who own a business here. Everybody knows them, and
What's their
they're
name?
micro influencers. Well, that one I'm gonna have to plead the fifth on. That one I can't. That one I can't. I can't go into
What
that.
did they do wrong?
It was just being extreme. They're very passionate about what we do.
Yeah.
And we had a time where there was almost like a fist fight over somebody telling one of our customers that it doesn't work, and it was they were being super skeptical, and the guy got really upset, and
Of course.
So, yeah, but he was a pretty well-known individual in Boca. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll ask you after the show. What about just female influencer models? I could see this working where you partner with a lot of micro influencers or big ones. I mean, Instagram's blown up and fitness is everywhere on Instagram. So, have you gone down that road?
yeah, so we do an influencer event pre-opening of a studio. So we do what's called VIP weeks, where pre-sold members come in and they get 2 weeks. It's like a soft opening for the franchisee where they get to get their feet under them, right? They've never run a studio with 300 members in it. So the member's not getting charged yet, so they're okay with knowing it's not going to be the full experience, right? Well, right before that, we do a micro-influencer event, or an influencer event, I apologize, where we bring in anybody we can get in the market. We have a partner is Defiance Fuel for water. They have tons of like pro athletes and stuff that they sponsor. They'll bring them in for us because we carry their water and
Sure.
all that good stuff.
So is Kevin in luck? He's are you a micro or are you above micro these days, Kevin? Where do you fall on the influencer level, and can you be part of this brand? I mean, look at this guy. He's got an 8-pack.
It really depends on the platform, because I don't do ton on Facebook because I'm not on Facebook. And then on Instagram, I'm also not on Instagram. So
They
I'm
just
really
know you,
like,
though.
I'm more like
the
a
downloads.
nano influencer. Right?
nano
So much
influencer.
smaller than micro, but I do have access to
Rate My
to
Professor.
students.
Come on. Rate My
So,
Professor. You got a ton of reviews.
I do.
The amount of clicks on ratemyprofessor.com is super
I'm
high.
damn good. Everybody knows that. And then, there's LinkedIn. There's LinkedIn, the useful one among the rest, at least from my perspective.
Sure. I think what we find with the influencers, though, is so what he's talking about, the person who the community knows, right? They're maybe not on social media. They're not that person. But the person who the fitness community knows is our best influencer. So you'll find, and I call it like, the fitness country club, right? Like there's that one or two people who everybody does what they do, whether it's because they see it on Instagram or because they find out that, Johnny down the street is doing this new thing and that's the guy who's in shape, so I trust what he does. So we'll go out and intentionally find those people, bring them in, have them work out.
I got a funny one for you because I want to see if you can plead the fifth twice and hopefully honor my deal over here to give Kevin 12 months of membership for free, of course.
Let's
Maybe
hear it.
once a week. So have you ever, got caught with your wife, right, scrolling through influencer models? I'm like, hey, I'm scrolling through influencer models who could work for Body20. But in reality, you're just scrolling for fun, of course.
So actually,
plead the fifth. Plead it.
No, we're
that's
good.
right.
Good. I'm not like the biggest social media guy. I'm gonna be honest. So, like, if you look at my accounts, I probably log on once every year or something.
Those who are extremely productive and
That's
some
the thing.
success. Yeah.
It is quite interesting, that stat. A lot of
spend a
our
lot of
past
time.
guests,
Yeah.
don't have social media, and a lot of them run very large tech firms. And you would always assume, like, oh, they're definitely on all these different things, but they're not. They don't. They just don't want to get consumed because they probably know they'll get addicted, so they just stay away, right? So when I post
black hole, man.
about a lot of our guests, like you'd always think, on these hot apps, like they have a lot of followers. They don't, and they're not commenting, they're not liking. And even the new one, Clubhouse, that just came out that everyone is talking about, the audio app, they don't have that many followers on there, but they're on the Inc. 5000 list, right? But they don't have time to chat about, BS. They're working, right? And the people with all the followers on Clubhouse, you're like, how could you be on Clubhouse this long if you're running a real business, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So they're the ones faking it right now, trying to make it, and the real business owners are not on there. Or they'll pop right in on a 30-minute commute somewhere or an hour commute, once in a while, or they get invited in a room, but not every single day. Absolutely.
Yep, that's exactly. I will say, TikTok sucked me in
TikTok's
during
good.
quarantine. It sucked me in.
Do like
Just,
TikTok.
that's the time killer for me. If I'm sitting on a plane, I'm probably looking at TikTok.
I agree with you on that one. TikTok is my favorite platform because it's random folks and funny stuff with a mix of education, built in as well. Because sometimes you'll learn something new and you'll even buy something on there. I bought a bunch of products from Amazon, just learning from what people are talking about.
They're still optimizing monetization. So I imagine you'll see that change
Yeah,
like you do with these sponsored tweets in the last couple weeks. Not on Twitter either, but I follow along in the news. Like I guess every third one now is just a
really?
random advertisement, and there's no way to turn it off. So
Sure.
just wait, TikTok will get ruined for
I'm
money.
sure it will. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us on the Shrimp Tank. For our audience
Thank you guys for
listening,
having me.
what is the best route they want to learn about Body20? Is your website?
Yep. Just go to www.body20.com.
Cool. And visit some of his locations down here in Florida, or if you're listening in Texas as well. And if you want to open up a franchise, of course, contact Chris directly over on LinkedIn, he said earlier in the show. Well, thank you again for joining us. Everyone listening,
you
will
guys
be
for having
back next Thursday at 4 p.m. Take care, everybody.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it's take a swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Doing big things, chasing big dreams. Yeah, it's all real. This life's all that it seems. All the chicks scream, all the dudes yell. This is just what I do, and I do it well. With the flow fresher than the new shoe smell. Going through hell,